All right, I was just kind of digging around on the internet this morning, and I came across some Palantir stuff, particularly Alex Karp, the CEO and founder of Palantir, and I found it very entertaining. So let's just go through some of this.
Alex Karp is here. He is the co-founder and CEO of Palantir Technologies. The company's data mining software is used by various government agencies in the United States, including the CIA, FBI, and NYPD. It is also used by hedge funds and other financial firms. Karp is a Stanford graduate and co-founded the company with ex-PayPal engineers. I am pleased to have him here at this table for the first time. He does not do many television interviews. And for that, I'm also pleased to have him here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Let me talk a bit about the background, which is interesting. Stanford Law, wasn't it?
It was Stanford Law.
And then you went to Frankfurt?
Then I went to Frankfurt and
got
got
a PhD in neoclassical
social philosophy, which is a fancy way of saying a quick path to being unemployed. Certainly to be the highest educated, least earning person on the planet.
And why did you do
Fancy
that?
way to say
Well, the same reason I got involved in founding Palantir. I was really passionate about the issues. I largely wasn't putting money ahead of what I thought was important. Some of the ideas I dealt with were actually quite important. What does it mean to know something? What does it mean to communicate it? What is the foundation of Western society? Can we participate as citizens, and how? I was very passionate about those ideas, just like I'm passionate about my business, Palantir.
And also about anti-Semitism and other issues that you thought needed to be written about and discussed.
I published widely on both technical issues, kind of issues involving the convergence of neo-Kantian philosophy and Freud, and on discrimination, and on civil liberties, and on anything that anyone would read, which is what you do when you're an aspiring academic with essentially an interest in writing. And then I migrated into a business context.
And what caused you to do that?
Well, the interesting thing about academia is that it's more interesting to the people in it than it is to anyone else. The impact, yes, you end up fighting about small things that may be fairly unimportant to other people. And I thought that while the ideas were important, the actual impact they were going to have was going to be very small. I mean, the kind of work I did was intelligible to probably 30, 40 people in the world. So it seemed more interesting and compelling to do something else, get involved in business and see how that worked out. And some of the issues in business are actually, from an academic perspective, also quite compelling.
So where did you migrate to?
Well, it turned out I had a facility I was pretty good at making money. And I was very bad at getting paid. So I basically turned the ability to make money and get paid into a business where I looked for other people who were good at making money and bad at getting paid, and I taught them how to make money quicker and to get paid fairly.
Now, this was a venture capital kind of operation, or
basically my own business, which I built, and I went around looking for motley people who had academic proclivities and were interested in business, and I would approach them and say, "Why don't you build a business? I'll help you." And I did that for a couple of years, and then I reconnected with Peter Thiel, and we began, along with a couple other guys, to build this company.
And while there, you had the idea for Palantir?
Yeah, well, post 9/11, I think the idea, again, it was Silicon Valley ought to be involved in fighting terrorism and protecting our civil liberties. Terrorism is asymmetric. Asymmetry presupposes software because you're finding needles in haystacks.
Dude, I love this idea that that liberty is a technology problem. Jesus fucking Christ.
Actually using an approach that's not exactly like data mining. It was a critique on some of the data mining approaches that had been used at PayPal.
Guys, it's not data mining. It's actually a critique on data mining.
And we thought that approach would be very effective in this context and would do two things. It would allow humans to find needles in haystacks, so make the data intelligible to you and me, which it's not. And by doing that, it would allow them to find bad people.
I'm the needle. I'm the needle that he's trying to find.
Trying to destroy our society, and could be used also to protect civil liberties by making the data sets transparent, so that it was very clear what the government is doing and how they're doing it, which is a particular passion of our company.
This may be obvious, but why did you name it Palantir after the seeing stones in the Lord of the Rings?
Yes. For those of you who had a social life in high school, you may not realize what Palantir is. For those of us who didn't have a social life, you immediately jumped out at you as the seeing stones in Lord of the Rings. And they allowed the West to communicate, or the forces of good to communicate and see into vast distances. And we thought it was a fitting name for a product that allows you to see into large databases, but doesn't allow you to see things you're not allowed to see, which is basically what the seeing stones
Which is one of the problems because of civil liberties and everything else, or
well,
not?
Yes. So the basic idea is that the West, or Western values, will win if we in the West believe in what we're doing. There's no point in having...
Bro, none of this is data about people outside of the U.S. There isn't a fucking megabyte in that database of information about non-U.S. citizens. Who is using? Because all the terrorists over in the Middle East, they have huge digital footprints, dude. They're just that. It's entirely data about us, 100%. That is their biggest concern. That is their biggest concern. They don't need intimate information about the citizens outside. Now, I'm sure they have it also, but like that, they see the enemy as within. It's about controlling Whatever. This is all obvious. We all know
war on
this. We all
terrorism
know
if
this, right?
civil liberties are being undermined to the extent that we aren't willing to fight that war. And this is particularly true in the cyber context. It turned out that the approach that was used at PayPal was essentially an anti-data mining approach. It was anti-data mining in the sense that data mining uses algorithms across large data sets. And what we do is we use what legal scholars call predicate-based search. So we would look at you, and then we would go out and say, oh, there's lots of different things in your life that may be indicative of someone involved in bad behavior. But it would also be very clear how the government looked at you. It wouldn't be a wide net cast into a sea of data that brings back all the innocent citizens that are touched by that net. It's a very precise operation, and each step in that operation is documented.
How much of your business is finding?
Again, he's never saying anything. We're not casting a wide net. We're going out and we're picking you, and it's you. So it's not like a big net thing. It's you. It's a person, and there's steps and. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Is it searching through all the data on everyone and looking for people or not? Like, shut the fuck up.
Terrorists for the U.S. government or whoever wants to hire you.
Most of our business is in government, and it all involves both sides of this equation. Finding people who are up to essentially bad things, both in the anti-terror area, in cyber, in financial malfeasance, mortgage fraud, but also making sure the data is tagged in a way that allows agencies to collaborate with one another, which is one of the big findings in the 9/11 Commission. Why weren't people able to collaborate? People tend to focus on the policy issues.
Dude, exactly. That's why the towers fell. It's because the government agencies, they couldn't talk enough. They couldn't send emails to each other.
But there are also massive technical issues that had to be solved, and solved in a way where you can just install it. We do that. And the second piece is, how do you do it so that when the government is looking at you or me, it's clear that they're looking at you and me for a reason. If they bring a case against us, what is the case? Where did the evidence come from? Did it come from sources they were allowed to see? Did they migrate from the source of one evidence, of a piece of evidence into another source? These are the kind of questions that Americans care a lot about.
Why can't the government do this themselves?
First of all, we are a piece of this. The hardworking and tremendously impressive people that you meet when you're in this business are the most important part. Our part is to provide world-class software. This is something America, by the way, is very good at, and Silicon Valley is especially good at.
And that will continue in your judgment in America's leadership in creating software?
I think software is probably an area where America will continue to lead. I think Silicon Valley will be at the tip of that movement. It's the place we've excelled at. Think of the software products you like to use, your audience likes to use. They're mostly American, and they don't use it because it's built in America. They use it because it's the best.
And why is that?
Well, the thing is, of course we have enormously talented people, but what makes a software product work is an ability to build a business around a compelling idea. And that's that. While this seems obvious in America and especially in Silicon Valley, in almost every other place, if you want to build a business, people. Large.
Skip ahead some. I don't care about this. I don't care about that entrepreneurial aspect. Oh, America makes the best software in the. Don't care.
Just cyber networks, and we discovered that
Working at the service of someone else?
Working at the service of somebody else.
A government.
That part we were not clear.
He's trying to be like, no, this. It's just like we're just. Don't try and be patriotic right now, okay? Silicon Valley has done more to destroy the United States in the last 15 years than I mean, it's just fentanyl. Fentanyl is social media is it's a fentanyl for everyone. It's just completely fucking destroyed. I don't know, but it's obviously they don't operate in a vacuum, but it's just that anyone could even. Now this is a 10-year-old video. I should have mentioned that. There's like a 15-year-old video. So this was peak, like, sucking Silicon Valley dry. Like, this is when I was super into it. I was working in Silicon. I was all up in that gravy train. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just a sign of how things have changed. Because that was so jarring to me, seeing someone like... just that you could even try and spin Silicon Valley patriotically in any way.
But we are clear. One of the very interesting things about cyber is this whole issue of attribution.
Right.
I think the metaphor that one could use in talking about cyber is maybe less cyber war, but the democratization of spy techniques. So in the 80s and the 70s, only large governments could pull off spy operations. Now, teenagers in the basement with a computer can pull off a spy operation, and it's very unclear if it's them or someone else. And the diagnostic you use is very, very complicated. It's not like someone breaks into your home, they leave a footprint or a handprint, or they leave a hair behind, or you take a picture of them. It's very, very tough to find out who they are. But what we can allow people to do is get a much better sense of what the evidence is, where it points to. The simple reason why simple data mining doesn't work, even leaving aside the moral issues it raises, is it uses a static algorithm against a non-static and highly entrepreneurial adversary.
That would be the terrorist.
That's a terrorist. And
everything he's saying here is bullshit. He's trying to say data. He's trying to act like data mining means something. It means having data and looking at it and using it. Having data and then gaining an understanding of that data. He's trying. It's just more word games. We're not doing data mining. We're not doing data mining. Okay. Do I look like? Do these hands look like they have ever held a pickaxe?
And so what you need to do is have a platform that allows you to interact with the data and see the patterns before they realize they're giving off the patterns. So it's non-algorithmic. It's not static. And what we allow people to do is
it's not algorithmatic. It's not. This is bespoke home. These are homegrown, farm-fed algorithms that love. They're America. They actually can't even do bad. The system, you're not allowed to know data that you're not supposed to know. It's just the point that I'm trying to get at here is that what we do is good, and we need more government money and backdoors into all the data systems.
The actual person doing the work, the analyst and targeteer, to get ahead of the terrorist, to see patterns of terrorists, doesn't realize they're giving off. And this is what. Now, how good is the terrorist?
Terrorists. God damn it. Terrorists. The terrorists. Hey, guess what? Spoiler. How do I zoom in here? We've made enough zoom in jokes.
You have to think of terrorists.
Because at this point, it's like I see him as the terrorist. And he sees me as the terrorist. So yeah, I mean, I do see myself as at war. We should all see ourselves as at war with this men of this tribe, if you know what I'm saying.
As entrepreneurs. And
I don't even know what I'm saying.
Tend to be, I think,
there's a lot of overlap there.
Very good at what they do. And in my view,
tribes. And they all need to be put under the fucking ground.
We need to put our best entrepreneurs against their best entrepreneurs. That's how we win.
Because they've all stopped using cell phones the way they used to and all those kinds of things.
You can think of any approach you use as a static approach. They will figure that out. This person gets taken away, they do a diagnostic. How did that person get caught? And they change their patterns immediately. What we need to do is game them, is to be ahead of whatever their technique is. And that requires people who are very flexible, agile, the kind of people that build weird companies in the valley. You put them against these people. And that's, by the way, in these pockets in government, that's what you find. Entrepreneurial people going after their entrepreneurship.
And where do they develop their entrepreneurship? And where do they develop their own computer savvy?
They believe in things that we don't believe in and I think are highly destructive, but they're nevertheless maybe the most interesting, talented people of their society. It's the same place we get our entrepreneurs. The best schools, the best minds, or people who are just good at something that's very valuable.
Moving to cyber warfare, what do you fear the most?
If we as a country understand what the danger is, and we as a country understand the kind of that it's possible to fight this without giving up our civil liberties, we'll win. If we underestimate the danger, or we perceive this as a war that will be costly to who we are, we'll lose. Democracies tend to win when the country gets behind it. We are kind of the greatest democracy in the world, and we tend to win wars where the people believe in what they're doing. Where the people think that
means anymore. We certainly are the greatest. That's like saying we're the greatest. This is the greatest porta potty at the music festival.
There's a trade-off between civil liberties and fighting cyber terrorists. It's going to be very hard to win. As long as we have computers that are turned on, there will be people that penetrate them. Every time we find a way to block them, they'll find a way in. The danger is real, and it's going to be with us the rest of our life. Now,
wow, it's almost like important things don't exist inside of computers. It's almost like the most important things are, I don't know, walking around outside of fucking computers. Like, Jesus, dude.
The question is, if the danger is real and it's with us for the rest of our life, what can we as citizens do, we as Americans do, that allows us to experience the liberty we want and stop them? And I think unless that educational piece is really addressed directly, we will have a problem.
Educating the public about the threat?
Both the threat and
the necessity of taking certain...
All right, I'm going to take a break from this for a second. I want to go through his Wikipedia some. What also is hilarious here, so he's a little bit aged here, and he straight up, bro, he looks like... This dude, he looks like this guy. Fuck, I wish back when, remember when Google worked? Look at this shit. What the fuck? Fucking hilarious. This dude actually kind of, it's a great character. Great death scene. So, yeah, like, this is Who Wants to Data Mine. To find all every one of us out here committing thought crimes and pre-crimes and whatever. Not in love with Israel. So sorry, boy. Oh yeah, he had some interesting quotes in here. Born into a Jewish family. His dad was a pediatrician. His mother was African American. That's okay. No, there's a quote in here about Karp has condemned woke ways of thinking, calling them the central risk to his company, Palantir, and to the United States as a whole. He has called Palantir a counterexample to companies he considers woke. Wokeness is, I mean, it's a bit of a played out term now, obviously, but companies like Palantir, while they might not be flying pride flags, and they probably don't give a shit about hiring a bunch of like blacks and women, obviously, I mean, they are a computer science company. But they're under that. They're closer to the foundation of woke cancer. While simultaneously be able to afford themselves insulation from the issues caused by basically your company having to adopt these woke policies. So they're the they're anyway. Oh yeah, he had a quote in here about kids. Karp said, "The thought of having children gives me hives." What the fuck does that, like, who oh yeah, then this other one. He never learned to drive a car, he said. I was too poor, and then I was too rich. I hate the way this guy speaks. He always has he's full of like oh, my whimsical rise to being a billionaire. Oh, first of all, who's too poor, dude? I was just a poor Harvard, Stanford, and Frankfurt college student, and my first job was investing from an inheritance from my grandfather. But I was too poor, and then I was too rich. I don't know how to drive. Nah, like I said. Do these hands look like they've ever touched a pickaxe? No, Goyam, no. And they've never even touched a fucking steering wheel. You think I'd drive around? You think I'd do that? Look at, he studies the highest, like, I guess what I'd consider, like, I don't know if I'd say, like, esotericism, what he studied at Frankfurt, but it's he's obviously very interested in how society is structured. And if I had to bet, he's a hardcore Zionist. Whether or not, like, we might be in like post-Israeli Zionism now. Like, Israel might get fucking destroyed, but Zionism can still live on, right? That just truly global, right? He does all this talk about being pro-America. We'll stop the terrorists and this and that. You know, obviously they don't give a fuck about America. They don't give a fuck about the United States. They are truly globalists. Yeah. So they get to play both sides, you know. All right. Well, I don't want to. So that's enough on his Wikipedia. I didn't get better at whatever the fuck it is I'm doing here.
Approaches, obviously I'm biased, and I think Palantir's ability to tag data and show what the government has done is enormously important. But you have to explain, if this is explained where there's a contradiction between our liberty and protecting ourselves, we're going to have a real problem. It's just the same way in any other war, where if we don't believe in what we're doing, we can't win. Where Americans believe in what we're doing, we tend to do very well.
But then are you arguing if they believe in what you're doing, they're willing to give up civil liberties?
Well,
is that part of the argument you're making?
No, well, I believe one of the reasons why I actually talk in public is there are approaches like ours which allow the people to make sure the government is actually doing what it claims to do. So if you understand what the government is doing to protect, and you understand what the limits are, and you know those limits and they can be enforced, that's one thing. If it's data mining where they're casting a massive net under the aegis of protecting us, well, that's not fine. So let me give you a concrete example. Data destruction, something that is not talked about enough. So you're running a large multinational company, and the government knocks on your door and says, your data is about to be destroyed. We know it because we're down the stairs. We have also classified files. We understand what's going on. We need to make a copy now of your data to prevent it from being destroyed, because we know how to secure that data. Well, you might be in favor of that, except for you want to make sure they're not going to use that data against you. Like, what's the guarantee that they use it, that data doesn't get migrated into a case that the government brings against you? What if the government already has a case against you?
Answer your own questions.
Well, our approach is when the government takes the data, it's tagged in a way that shows the source. So it can't be migrated from the data they've taken from you to a case they have pending. And this is enormous.
So if they take the data, you make sure they tag it.
If you use our platform, we can take that data, ingest it. It's tagged. If it's migrated into a case that they may have running against you, your defense attorneys will see that. and you'll say, okay, well, this data came from data I gave you. This is enormously important. You're not going to have buy-in to help the government protect you unless you know that your liberty is going to be protected. And this is something we do kind of turnkey, or as we say in the Valley, out of the box. Whether you use us or whether you build a system, that's not my point. These kind of things have to be built in and baked in. And they have to be discussed with the American people.
I'm always perplexed by this question.
All right, that was a lot. That was first of all, that scenario seemed incredibly contrived. The government, hey guys, there's terrorists out here. Give us, and then they're going to destroy all your data. You're going to need to give us a copy of all your data because we can keep it safe. That is so, like, we're already starting on a completely broken foot here. That makes no sense. First of all, you can store data offline. So the government admits that they're spying on you. Okay, so all of that is fucked and retarded. Everything he said in here makes no fucking sense. They just want to take data. They want to spy on you. They want to use it against you. They want to get more powerful. They want to help the government get more powerful. It's just a power aggregator. It's okay. So then this idea of like tagging data. Oh, and the data's tagged, and then they'll say the government will be like, "Hey, I gave you that data. Why are you using it against me?" I feel like I shouldn't even have to lay out how that's. This is. All right, let's just keep going. I'm too. I'm not drunk right now. I'm just. I just don't even know what to say. I'm just stupid.
If the CIA can hire people like you, like Palantir Technologies, why can't bad guys hire people, not you, but people like you?
Well,
they can. They can. Here's my number.
Actually, because they don't exist.
No.
Guys, I love this good guys, bad guys talk. The terrorists. God damn it. I really like to think are we all just like, we can all see right past, just straight through this kind of shit. Not even just this. I'm not even talking about Palantir, but just, we can all see through this, right?
And I think the bad guys do get people of equal talent to what we can get. I think that we in America are very good at organizing ourselves so that we outperform the bad guys they get. But I think they get very talented people. And the cyber context is a great example.
Who are these bad guys? Who are these bad guys?
What are probably bands of teenagers taking down major organizations. These are highly talented, highly motivated.
That's happening today, or that the potential to do that is there?
If what we found with the Dalai Lama and our other kind of open source operations is indicative of what's out there, it's out there. It exists today. There are many cases where we don't know what's happening, and we are all capable of being targeted and taken down. Software and technology has democratized espionage. So what would have taken a large governmental organization now can be done with 2 or 3 teenagers in a coffee shop. The biggest question
is really scary.
Yeah, the biggest question that you as a president would have, if you were a president, you would have to decide. An organization in America is being taken down. Okay, we know it's being taken down. What is the response? That person has gotten inside an organization with significant security and been able to obfuscate who they are. Doesn't that sound like the John le Carré novels we read? Yeah. So, but now you don't need to be.
Teenagers aren't doing nation states worth of damage. This isn't happening. Yes, there are teenagers. Yes, a lot of hackers. Yes, there are like very talented young hackers that can get into systems and do things. But they're not siphoning off terabytes. Those are big operations, generally conducted by like a foreign entity. This isn't. So again, the more, speak, he's saying like, our world is built on all these information stores, and they're so crucial to the functioning of our society and our safety. But just the average TikToker, teenager, they're all hackers, and they're just at coffee shops and undermining our society. And so we are the floodgate holding all this back. We need more resources. And this invisible world, it's all happening on the internet pipes. Y'all can't see it, but trust us, guys. Trust us. We're the good guys. There's bad guys, but we're the good guys. We store your data the best. And we don't search through it. We don't mine it. We massage it. We take care of it. We feed it whole milk. We don't mine it. Okay, we don't use generic algorithms. Every single 1 and 0 we treat as an individual.
a governmental organization. You can be a single teenager. Now, you as the president, to go back to the example, how do you respond? Well, if it's a government organization, you call up and say, look, you either stop or we're going to come after you. But what if it's a teenager? And before you've solved that issue, you cannot respond. And this is a major issue that
Okay, but it's part of your ability to see around the corner then, in terms of before they take it down, you can see patterns of people and or actions and or behavior.
Well, what we do is we help people, like we did with the Dalai Lama, figure out if you actually have been infiltrated. So what kind of data is leaving?
And they had been.
They had been, and in a massive way. But then two, we say these people are likely to actually be this. They appear to be teenagers, but they are teenagers that are likely being handled by this organization. Or they actually are teenagers. Or more likely, when you're done with our diagnostic, we say we are not sure who they are, but we are sure they are in this building. Why don't you send someone to go find out who they are?
Why isn't this going to collide head on into privacy and civil liberties?
Well, it would if there was a contradiction between finding terrorists and protecting civil liberties. But the exact same transparency you can use to find terrorists, if there was a contradiction between finding terrorists and protecting civil liberties. But the exact
There's no contradiction between finding terrorists and protecting civil liberties.
Privacy and civil liberties.
Well, it would if there was a contradiction between finding terrorists and protecting civil liberties. But the exact same transparency you can use to find terrorists, you can use to see what the government's using. The central question, in my view, of civil liberties is how. It's not if the government has data, because let's assume the government has as much data as a health insurance company. It's how is that data being used? Is it being used in a way that's lawful? Meaning, do they have the right to use it? And is it being migrated into places it's not allowed to be used? We allow the enforcement of rules that government ought to enforce. And by the way, my experience is they want to enforce our.
So he talks a lot about being able to monitor. He's said this twice now, being able to detect data movement. I don't no. So you can't, and can we know that? Are they not siloing? You can't, what, to enforce something like that, you have to have complete knowledge of the system. So what he's saying is we need to have. He's getting into things that aren't just, we're not just a data mining company, aggregate. You don't just give us money and we mine it or not mine it or whatever the fuck he calls it. They're reaching outside. They're saying we need to be in all of the systems. We need to be backdoored in all of the systems. We need, if there is data in the United States, it's our data. Okay. Every Windows computer, every server, every database, every whatever government institution. Not sure how they want to orchestrate this exactly. They want it to be above board. Obviously, there's lots of back doors and everything is compromised. But that's different. There's a difference between backdooring software and digital systems and what he's talking about here is he's trying to pass legislation that says every single fucking computer, basically, or whatever. I don't know what the stipulations would be, but is going to have Palantir is watching .exe running on that computer. And that's how they monitor this. Well, we just want to make sure that the data is safe and that you're doing data rules. You're doing the data by the rules. And, it's moving somewhere. It shouldn't be. Terrorists. Okay, don't. Oh my God. Another 9/11. It's complete tyranny. Complete tyranny. Complete tyranny is what he's talking about here. They want to know all data.
At the very least, know they need to enforce. And if it's framed in that way, then you can.
Like literally, what he's trying to say is that they own the data. Like before I have even, because we create the data to some extent, right? Before I have even created the data into like whatever hard drive it goes into or phone, they own. It's already theirs. It's already theirs. That's what they want.
You can have what is the ultimate Silicon Valley solution. You remove the contradiction and we all march forward.
It's extraordinary stuff. Thank you for coming.
He's like, this is extraordinary stuff. All right, we're going to cut it here. This is getting fucking insane. All right, well, wow. Yeah, so he's one of the 100 richest men in the United States with $11 billion or something. And he's got a PhD in neoclassical social theory, which to me it sounds like he's a Marxist Zionist. Like he's got to be. Maybe there's more precise terms to use, but he he wants communism for us, and money and power for himself. And all his friends, all his little friends. All right, well, we get it. So that's Palantir. That's Alex Karp. Dude's bad shit. All right, well, thanks for watching. Probably no one watched this, but thanks.